Okay, dear students, earlier in this chapter, we studied about reflection of light. When we studied reflection of light, we studied about different kinds of spherical mirrors, that is concave mirror and convex mirror. We also studied about the image formation using different mirrors. In the previous lecture, we also studied refraction of light. That means when a ray of light enters from one transparent medium to another transparent medium, it does not come back, but it goes on straight, but its direction changes slightly. This is known as refraction of light. Now today, the next topic there we are going to study is refractive index, which is a very important topic. What is actually refractive index? So again, refractive index deals with refraction of light. Now what is refraction of light? You have already studied that a ray of light that travels obliquely from one transparent medium into another will change its direction in the second medium. Now, the extent of the change or the degree of the change in the direction that takes place in a given pair of media is expressed in the terms of refractive index. Now, let me explain you giving an example. Refraction of light when a ray of light enters from one medium to another is not constant every time. The bending of light depends on the nature of the medium. Means if a ray of light is entering from air to water, and in different another case when ray of light is entering from air into, let us say, a glass, so the density of glass and density of water both are quite different, so the bending of light in both the cases will not be same, the bending will be different. So the extent to which the bending of light will take place when ray of light enters from one transparent medium to another is expressed in the terms of refractive index. That will be a definition of refractive index, and that will be constant value for a constant pair. Now, as I said, that when there are two different mediums, their densities are different, and when their densities are different, the speed of light also changes. So as there is change in speed of light when it enters from one medium to another, there is a slight bending. Now, one thing to remember, that light travels fastest in vacuum. Why? Because in vacuum the density is minimum. Vacuum means there is no air, no dust particles, nothing. So air won't face any resistance. So its speed will be highest, which is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Now when you consider air, air contains certain amounts of gases, dust particles, etc. in it. So the speed of light will become marginally less, but while solving numerical, we consider the speed of light in air and vacuum to be same, that is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. But in reality, the speed of light will be marginally less in air compared to that of vacuum. But when a ray of light goes in glass or water, then its speed will reduce considerably. So in your textbook, the values of refractive index of different substances are given. You need not memorize it, but it's just for your knowledge that how the value of refractive index changes from one medium to another. Now, let us understand it little more deeply. Here, as you see, that a ray of light from air is moving, and at that point O, it's entering another medium too, which is glass. Now, as you can see that it is not going straight, it bends a little bit towards the left side. So, refractive index is a comparative quantity. Consider a ray of light traveling from medium 1 into medium 2, as you can see in the diagram. If we consider V1 to be speed of light in medium 1, that is air, and V2 the speed of light in medium 2, which in this case is glass, then the refractive index of glass, if you want to find out the refractive index of glass with respect to air, then you can find out by taking the ratio of speed of light in medium 1, that is air, upon speed of light in medium 2. That means refractive index of glass with respect to air, it is represented as eta 21. The symbol, this looks like n, but it's spelled as eta, which represents refractive index. So refractive index, that is eta 21, means refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1 can be expressed by taking the ratio of speed of light of medium 1, that is air, upon speed of light in medium 2, that is glass. So when I take V1 by V2, I will get refractive index of glass with respect to air. Now if someone wants to find the refractive index of medium 1, then what you will do? You will just flip the speeds. That is, if I want to find the refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2, it is represented as eta 12. It is represented as eta 12 will be V2 upon V1. So if I take V1 upon V2, it gives me eta 21, that is refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. Whereas if I want to find out eta 12, that is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2, I have to take V2 upon V1, that is speed of light in medium 2 upon speed of light in medium 1. Now if medium 1 is taken vacuum or air, and then you find out refractive index of another medium, then the refractive index of another medium can be said as absolute refractive index. So when you are taking refractive index of, let us say, glass, while one of your medium is vacuum or air, then the value of refractive index you find out will be also said as absolute refractive index. Okay, now it is simply represented as eta 2, or if you take as a medium, it will be represented as eta m. So eta m means refractive index of some medium, which may be glass, which may be water, you may take oil, you may take kerosene, any medium. You are comparing it with air. So speed of light in air upon speed of light in medium gives absolute refractive index of that particular medium. Suppose I want to find out refractive index of, let us say, kerosene. So absolute refractive index of kerosene will be equal to speed of light in air upon speed of light in kerosene. Similarly, if I want to find out refractive index of, let us say, diamond, so absolute refractive index of diamond will be equal to speed of light in air upon speed of light in diamond. So here speed of light in air is represented as c, and speed of light in the medium is represented as v. So eta m, that is absolute refractive index of medium m, will be equal to speed of light in air, which is represented as c, upon speed of light in the medium, that is v. Now absolute refractive index of a medium is simply termed as refractive index. So now onwards, in your textbook, wherever you find this term refractive index, that means you are talking about absolute refractive index, because here in each and every case we are comparing the refractive index with air or vacuum. Now you just need to remember certain values if they are asked in short questions. No need to memorize the whole table, as I said, but this is given in your textbook, so you have to remember these values. That refractive index of water, that is eta W, is 1.33. This means that the ratio of speed of light in air, when you take it with the speed of light in water, the answer you will get is 1.33. Similarly, refractive index of a type of a glass which is known as crown glass is 1.52. So eta G, that is refractive index or absolute refractive index of glass, is equal to 1.52. Again, no need to memorize all these values. Just need to remember these two values, that is refractive index of water is given in a textbook as 1.33 and refractive index of crown glass is given as 1.52. And as I said earlier, that refractive index tells you that what is the extent of bending of light when it enters from one medium to another. Now, another important topic that we are going to discuss over here is refraction by spherical lenses. In the previous lectures, we discussed reflection of light using spherical mirrors. But when we talk about lenses, we talk about refraction of light. And during refraction, the light is not reflected back, but when it goes from one medium to another, it will undergo bending. Now, first of all, let us understand the meaning of a lens. What is a lens? A transparent material that is bound by two surfaces in which one surface or both the surfaces are spherical, then it forms a part of a lens. So either both surfaces are spherical or at least one surface is spherical, then such an arrangement is known as a lens. So the definition is given. This means that a lens is bound by at least one spherical surface. In such lenses, the other surface would be plane. If one is spherical, then other surface will be plane. But in certain cases, both the surfaces will be spherical. So when both the surfaces are spherical, both the surfaces might be bulged outwards, as you can see over here that both the surfaces are bulged outwards, or both the surfaces will be curved or bulged inwards. So here you can see that both the surfaces are curved inwards. So these are the example of lens. Now, if the bulging is outwards, then such a lens is called double convex lens. So figure A that you can see on the screen is an example of double convex lens. Why? Because it's both surfaces. The surface that you see on your left hand side and the surface that you see on the right hand side. Both the surfaces are bulged or curved outwards. So such a lens is called double convex lens, but generally we call it only convex lens. Now as you can see over here, what is the characteristic of this lens? This lens is thicker at the center and as you go to the edges, it becomes narrow. So the characteristic of a typical double convex lens or simple a convex lens is that both its surfaces are bulged outwards and it is broader at the center and narrower at its edges. So when you see compare its thickness at edge M and N, you will see that its thickness is lesser compared to its middle portion, which is represented via O. So such lens are known as convex lens. Now what is the speciality of convex lens? Convex lens converges the ray of lights. The light rays are converged using a convex lens. As you can see over here, the parallel rays coming from infinity are converged to a point. So convex lens is also termed as converging lens. Now by the same logic, a concave lens is also bounded by two spherical surfaces which are curved inwards. So as you can see in the diagram, figure B represents a typical concave lens in which both its spherical surfaces are curved inwards. Now just as our convex lens was thicker at the center and was thinner at the edges, when you look at concave lens, you will find that it is thinner at the middle part, but it becomes broader when you go at its two ends. So this is the basic difference. The second difference that you see over here is that a typical concave lens will diverge ray lights. As you can see, these light rays are moving away from each other In the case of convex lens, they were coming towards each other. Here they are going away from each other. So dear friends, one important thing that you need to remember is that while using a convex lens, the light rays converge. So it is known as a converging lens. Whereas when you are using a concave lens, it will diverge the light rays. So it is also known as a diverging lens. Now, we'll also study the image formation using different lenses, that is concave lens and convex lens. But before we start that thing, we need to learn certain rules. So basically there are three rules, whether you are using a concave lens or convex lens. The rule number one, a ray of light from the object parallel to the principal axis after refraction from a convex lens or a concave lens will pass or will seem to pass through the focus. Now, as we are talking about the lenses, the focus that we'll find will be on the right hand side. So as you can see over here, that a ray of light which is parallel to principal axis, this is ray of light which is parallel to the principal axis. After refraction, it will pass through principal focus. Similarly, when we are talking about a concave lens, as it is diverging, it will move away. But when you extend it on the opposite side, okay, you will see to be passing to another focus which is on the left hand side. Now, in a lens, you will have a principal focus on both the side at the same distance of the optical center. The central part of the lens is known as optical center, which is represented as O. From this point O, the distance of principal focus on the either side, that is left hand side and right hand side, will be same. One will be represented as f1 and other will be represented as f2. Both are known as principal focus. Now the thing to remember, as I said in this slide, is that if a ray of light is parallel to the principal axis, then it will pass through focus, or it will seem to pass through focus if you are using a concave lens. Let us talk about rule number 2. A ray of light which passes through a principal focus. Now if a ray of light is passing through principal focus, or seems that if you extend it, it will pass through principal focus, then it will emerge parallel to the principal axis. Dear friends, have a look at diagram number A. Here we are using a convex lens. This is the incident ray which is passing through the principal focus. You can see that at this point, after refraction, it becomes parallel to the principal axis. Look at figure B. As in figure B, it's a diverging lens, that is concave lens. Now if I extend this incident ray, it seems that it will pass through the principal focus. So after reflection, it will emerge parallel to the principal axis. So two rules that we studied till now is that if your incident ray is parallel to principal axis, then it will pass through the focus. But if it is passing through the focus, it will emerge parallel to principal axis. Two rules are complete. We'll move to rule number 3. A very simple rule. If the ray of light is passing to the optical center of a lens. Now again, what is optical center? The central part of the lens through which the principal axis is passing is known as optical center, and it is represented as O. So if a ray of light is passing through optical center, it will emerge, or it will go on without any deviation. That means it will go straight on. Have a look at diagram A. This is the incident ray. The incident ray is passing through optical center, so its direction does not change even by 1 degree. It goes on straight. Okay, so if a ray of light is passing through the optical center, whether it's a concave lens or a convex lens, it will emerge, or it will move ahead without any deviation. In other words, it will just go straight through. So if a ray of light is passing through optical center, it goes straight through. This is the example with a convex lens. Same thing happens using a concave lens. So this is our incident ray is passing through the optical center. So it goes on straight without any deviation or reflection. So these three rules we'll use in the next lecture to learn about the image formation using convex lens and concave lens. Thank you.